Welcome to the MarTech Matrix, the podcast that cogently uncovers the business problems each tech company was built to solve. Today, Sean speaks with Tom Logan, co-founder and CEO of Cohley, a digital platform that facilitates the generation of user-created marketing content. It connects companies with creators who produce engaging, authentic material including photographs, short videos, and product reviews. This content bolsters brand visibility and drives growth across online platforms. After the show, head on over to themartechmatrix.com for show notes, contact information, and details on upcoming episodes. Now, get ready to enter the Matrix.
Tom, welcome into the Matrix. How are you today?
Great to be in the Matrix. Yeah, doing great. Happy to be here with you.
I'm personally excited to have you here because I have to admit, this is not a space that I am all that familiar with. I know a little bit, enough to ask you some questions and learn, but hopefully we can educate the audience as well on influencer marketing, UGC content, kind of the differentiation there, how they work together, and everything that goes along with it. You're the expert, so we're going to lean on you. But talk to us about Cohley first. What is it, and why does it exist? What problem did Cohley set out to solve when it was originally created?
So Cohley is a type of fish, just to level set. It's of course misspelled because we're a startup. Incorporated name is Goldfish Social, so we kind of float off the fish theme. Maybe a little too far, honestly. The fish tank takes a lot of work to maintain. But basically, what Cohley is a software platform that helps consumer brands generate content. And when I say content, I mean photos, videos, and product reviews. And that content has strategic application throughout the entirety of the consumer journey. So we'll work with brands on generating short form ad creative for TikTok and Meta ads, introduce their brand to the world, make a compelling argument. Hey, here's why we exist. Here's why we're awesome. And then we'll also think about content throughout the entirety of the consideration stage. What kinds of assets are we putting on site? And it's not always about what's the prettiest, what's the sexiest asset that we can possibly generate for the brand. It's really about which assets are really creating connection, fostering that togetherness that really prompts consumers to move through the funnel and ultimately make a purchase. And consumers today have a lot of options. They're discerning with their dollars, and in order to actually get that person to make that initial purchase, you better really build a ton of trust. You better win them over. You better speak to them in a one-to-one type of capacity. And then, assuming your products are great, then hopefully you have a lifetime customer, and all that work has been more than worth it. So really, content's the connection point between brands and consumers, and we make sure that it's fully optimized.
Okay, so user-generated content are the people that create that content, are they previous customers of the brand, or are you helping the brand go find people to create that content for them?
It's both. So most of the time, it's a brand tapping into the extended creator network on Cohley's platform. So there's over 100,000 creators. They run the gamut as far as their primary skill sets, the types of things they specialize in, and basically there's a mechanism on the platform that makes it very easy for brands to post a project. Creators that fit that niche or whoever they're looking for will see it, apply to it, and brands get to then pick their favorite creators from that process. What we can also do, to your point about existing creators, we can tap into a brand CRM and incentivize their existing customers in a variety of different ways, discount codes, sweepstakes, etc., to leave a review, to create a short video talking about their experience purchasing the product. Those might not be your hyper produced, super slick videos that transition from one scene to the next, but again, a lot of times they'll convey trust and bring people right across the finish line.
Got it. So how do you communicate authenticity if a brand comes onto the platform, they pick a creator, maybe they're not a customer, likely not a customer if they're going that route. How do you ensure authenticity from the creator?
So it's one of those things that's a little bit difficult to really pin down. I think you are able to spot it pretty easily if you just look at the overall body of work from the creator. So if there are certain products, say it's a new supplement that a brand is launching, and we're able to talk to them through consultation and understand, okay, really it's going to take 3 weeks before you start to notice any sort of upside benefits from taking this vitamin. That'll be required. You got to take it for 3 weeks. We're not just hawking product and just making up lies. And to be honest, like, authenticity is the kind of thing that you can't really fake in today's day and age. There's the BS meter is just too high. In particular, when you look at like millennial and younger as demographics, they've been marketed to on every possible medium from like the day they were born. Like they can smell anything that's inauthentic. So try to find the right people who are in it for the right reasons, have a genuine interest in the space or the product that they're then taking in and helping to market. And and give them an actual chance to use the product.
So just real quick on the product before I ask you questions about the space. When a brand comes to Cohley, like, or when you're speaking to a brand about your value proposition and what you bring to the conversation, you mentioned you have a network of creators that brands can tap into. And we'll come back to that in a second. But what else is it that Cohley is doing in the process to help the brand generate that content?
Yeah. So whenever we're working on what we call creative brief or campaign, can use them interchangeably, we're always doing that with a specific focus on what type of content we want to generate and which channel it's going to be used on. So those could look very different if we're looking to create like a bunch of short form UGC videos for TikTok ads versus activating creators on Amazon Inspire, or we're trying to generate product reviews to support a launch on Target or Walmart. So, the real answer is it just depends on the type of content that they need. And oftentimes there are multiple projects running for a brand at any given time, and we can pull from different subsets of creators who have these specialized skills and interests to ensure that the right types of talent are being brought to the right types of projects. And then from there, they'll there's a variety of different checks and balances throughout the creative brief process that allows brands to communicate directly with creators, take in sample content, campaign ideas that they might have, and then approve the assets prior to them going live or them taking in ownership of the actual content itself.
So is Cohley's role in there, is it really just to facilitate the relationship between brand and creator, or are you also involved in the sort of production of the content?
We're not involved in the production of the content at all. So every creator who all have specific profiles on the Cohley platform, portfolios that they curate. So it's very dynamic and personalized in that sense. But we don't take part in any of the production itself. What we will do oftentimes is we have a variety of integrations, APIs within the platform that make it very easy to take the content generated and then push it off to TikTok Business Manager to Meta's ad platform as well, or it could just be internal sharing, Slack, Google Drive, etc. The production itself, we're helping to guide the process, but ultimately it's these third-party independent contractors who are leveraging the platform and creating what the brand ultimately needs to be successful.
Okay. And from a business model perspective, I'm not asking for costs, but I'm sure it varies, but is the business model, there's a cost for the creator, you're taking a piece of that, and then a cost to using the platform? Like how should people think about, hey, I need UGC content. What does this investment look like?
Yeah, base license to Cohley, incremental spend directly to the creator. We do not take a cut of that, despite a lot of private equity people over the years telling me that we should. And basically the model works. Our proxy for consumption is essentially number of creative briefs run. So oftentimes, a large CPG brand with many different teams involved might run 40 in a year. A smaller sort of up and coming D2C focused brand might just start with 4, and maybe that's enough content for them. So a lot depends on number of channels they're focused on, different cohorts of like personas that they're trying to serve, number of actual SKUs they have on the site. There's a lot of different levers that go into it. But really at the end of the day, we're trying to turn content from a real like pain in the ass for our clients, something they could never keep up with, to a real like bona fide strength.
I want to poke into that a little.
Yep.
Yeah, I want to click into that because I'm trying to like really get at like the business, like the problem that a brand would have doing this without a Cohley sitting in the middle. In other words, I'm a brand. I've got customers. I've got happy customers. They use my product. Can't I just say, make me some videos about you using the product and tell people what you think and do it on your iPhone and send it to me? Why is that? Is that just different? Is it better? Is like, where does Cohley, like, what's the problem you solve for in that scenario?
Scale and quality, quick management and the creation of assets that the brand owns in perpetuity. And I think that's probably the biggest difference there. Just to frame the problem you were asking about, problem that we really solve in the market. The CMO at General Mills told me the other day that they use more content in a single day than they did in an entire year just 15 years ago. Right, so just the volume of assets these brands need is just overwhelmingly massive and can be fairly debilitating. A lot of times what they'll do, some will turn to their customers, some will even turn to their employees. Peloton has done a very good job of that. But oftentimes, unfortunately, what they do is they'll say, okay, we have this big retainer with this big old agency, loaded costs, expensive retainers. It's safe for us to get approval to just have them do the content creation, and then they'll use a platform like Cohley, or they'll just kind of fudge it themselves and include it as a big line item. So it's not that I hate agencies. That's
a different conversation, Tom.
They're not well suited to meet this UGC demand specifically.
Yeah. Okay. It makes sense. And since you touched on ownership and sort of the legal side of things, who owns the content once it's done?
Funny, every time we pitch a sort of enterprise brand doing, use that term as just meaning like 100 million plus or more in annual revenue. Whenever we talk about the fact that we secure content rights in perpetuity for them, they're always like, why didn't you just say that at the beginning? It ends up being a huge pain point for a variety of these brands, because in particularly when you're working with influencers who have a decent amount of clout, decently large followings, a lot of times you have an agent representing them, and for the most part, agents are pretty well aligned with their talent, but they'll occasionally get a little nickel and dimey there.
Yeah.
And say, hey, okay, great, you can have the content for a month, but anything beyond that, you owe us X more. Or hey, you want to use it in TikTok, even though this was originally created for Instagram, that'll cost you more. So we take care of all of that. Creators are, of course, very well aware of that when they sign up, and they're very much at peace with it.
Yeah. It's like those royalties that exist in those 80s sitcoms. I watched the Brat Pack documentary. I don't know if you've seen this. It came out on Hulu this week.
Yeah.
I watched it last night, and I'm looking at some of these actors who have not worked in decades, thinking, how do they live this lifestyle? It's all those royalties they're getting from 16 Candles and St. Elmo's Fire and Breakfast Club.
I'll tell you what, all those actors and actresses on Friends and The Office. Yeah. It's just never. Their kids don't have to work.
Seinfeld, right? Seinfeld's probably the biggest one. Okay, so help us understand in the ecosystem. I feel like I personally use UGC and influencer marketing synonymously. Like I always put them in the same sentence. What's the difference if you're a brand thinking about this space? Like, is if I had to guess, I'd say UGC's content, influencer, are people. But tell me how what it really means.
There's some overlap there. So actually, it'd be helpful to take you back to sort of the genesis of the company. So Eric, my co-founder, and I were working at a company in Silicon Valley called Pecora. And there we were helping consumer brands find primarily photos that ordinary people were taking and posting onto social media on their behalf. So we help them find it, get rights to it, and then help them put it to work right at the point of purchase on product pages. Now, that came with a lot of issues. About 98% of that content was totally unusable. It was a Nike shoe with an Adidas sock. Nike can't use that. Neither can Adidas, right? Or it just it was a little bit of a gray area in terms of legalities. We were literally having big brands comment, "Can I have rights to this?" in the comments of an Instagram post, and then they were taking it and using it. It's like, I don't know what the book says on this, but it's a little weird. Having said that, when we were able to find the right types of organic user-generated content to put right at the point of purchase, the data was staggering around what it would do for conversion rates. And no one knows this for sure, but my well-informed theory is that it's just the psychology of relatability and confidence that this is a real product. Real people have enjoyed using it, have had utility using the product, and great. I'm gonna push it through. So oftentimes with fashion back in the day, it was okay. This product, the shirt looks great on David Beckham. Like, I ain't built like David Beckham, so like, would it look good on me too? Okay, great. So there's this like connection point there, and you've seen that as sort of broad strokes marketing trend over the last decade as well. It's inclusivity, diversity, representation, those types of themes are really critical to create connection, not just like pie in the sky, aspiration, unattainable type of marketing that like Abercrombie used to fire off, right? So
it's a whole different world, right? Like the Abercrombie models, the Kate Moss guest days, like that's not the body image that we want our kids to think is normal. It's funny. I want to click into something here. You talked about like in your previous company, you went out and you got content of people on social media that were using a certain brand. And I had my own example, and I'm curious to know what the legality or the laws are behind this. So when my son, he's now 15, when he was, I don't know, 3, he got his first ice cream cone, and we were at this dairy in California, and there's a cute picture. My wife put it up on Facebook, right? And her friend reposted it, and then somebody at the town saw it on her Facebook and took it. And next thing you know, it's on the back cover of like it's in an advertisement, basically on the community, magazine. They never asked. I mean,
judge says illegal violation. Yeah, you need to secure written approval there and explicitly state where it's going to be used in that instance. So you should be getting Seinfeld level royalties.
I tried to get free ice cream, but they didn't bite.
Just give me like a free milkshake.
just give us a free cone a week, and that'll save me some money.
Yeah, get it real quick. I didn't quite finish I didn't quite put a bow on how the Genesis story ties into your initial question. When we saw influencer marketing becoming like a very table stakes popular strategy for consumer brands, we saw those influencers as being most valuable for the really high quality content that they were creating, and not as much so for their influence. Now, the influence component is critical. It's very valuable, and it's a space that's projected to continue to double just about every year in the coming decade. However, we very much had the sense that like scalable, quality, rights approved, user generated content was going to be more and more critical for brands across digital. That was before Instagram stories / reels, TikTok, Snapchat was just becoming a thing. So, frankly, when we first launched with this video first angle, people didn't respond to our emails. We thought we had like a domain spam issue. Turns out it just wasn't desirable. That's okay. Start doing more on the photography side, and then eventually, of course, because of little that we did to influence this, the space just kind of moved in that direction. Short form UGC video became more and more critical, and we were very well positioned to capitalize on that trend.
I'm curious on that. Earlier, you mentioned the CEO, I think, or CMO of General Mills.
Mm-hmm.
I remember back in the day, like in the early 2000s, when brands wouldn't touch UGC. They were like, "There's just no way we're going to license out our brand to a user." What changed and when? Was it the social media platforms themselves? Is it generational? Like, what caused the shift? And then what was the catalyst for brands being okay with it?
It is a very interesting question. It's this classic like performance versus brand battle. And I think, we've gone through a variety of different positions, at least me personally, on this endless battle. On the one hand, we firmly believe that like data should be the loudest voice in the room at all times. If the goal is to maximize performance and to grow the brand, then we got to listen to what's actually performing across these channels. And it's okay if the content that you're utilizing on TikTok isn't necessarily the most on brand thing of all time. And what does on brand even mean? I've run a variety of experiments with people in brand, and I've said, all right, of these two photos, which one's more on brand? You survey enough people, it's about 50-50. They have no idea. Having said that, brand guidelines, staying generally consistent, not just being a chameleon and totally selling your soul out for every single consumer, brand to consumer situation is not going to work either. People will see through that, and back to this theme of authenticity, that's just not authentic. So we've kind of settled in 8.5 years in now with the business on where the space is, and I think there is a happy marriage between performance and brand. You have to stand for something while at the same time letting the data guide your content selection and ensuring that everyone's on the same page around what our goals here are. Is our goal to appease our founder and put out content on social media that's on brand, or is our goal to grow the actual damn business? And if it's to appease the founder, great. I probably don't want to work with you. Like, it's okay. You guys go do your expensive photo shoots and whatever. We're here to help brands grow and expand and win and adapt to these like ever-changing digital landscape that is really hard to keep up with. So that's what gets us fired up.
Yeah, I think on brand means it's aspirational for the brand. Like, what do we want to be? That's what we want on brand to mean to us. No, but I think 8.5 years. I mean, to me, that feels like early, right? Like it makes sense that you're starting to really pick up speed. I also have to imagine, just looking at my own life and my kids and my wife, generationally speaking, there's been this shift. Like, my kids don't watch TV, and if they do, and there's a commercial, they fast forward through it. So they're not, but they complain about ads, and I laugh at them. I'm like, first of all, everything you have is related to ads, so stop complaining. Second, you're influenced by, use the word over again, but influencers all day long. They watch YouTube and TikTok and Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts, and you ask for these things all the time, whether it's a video game or something, whatever it is. They don't see it as advertising, and I think that's really interesting that they don't think that they're being marketed to, and in fact, they are, probably more so than we ever were.
Oh yeah, on every different channel, right? I mean, think about all the different brand and consumer touch points that exist. But you hit on a really good point there. So traditional advertising, if you think about like a 1980s TV ad that you would have watched when you were watching a Cubs game back in the day, a lot of times it'd be like, product in your face. This Old Spice deodorant is so fresh. It makes me feel like I smell like a mountain spring. Now, a lot of the advertising is a lot more subtle. Get ready with me for my day. I got a big meeting later. I'm going to wake up. I'm going to, grab my coffee and like, oh, by the way, like, this is my favorite deodorant. It's unbelievable. It keeps me smelling great all day. Now I'm off in the car. Here I go. Like it's a little bit more subtle because it's integrated into the actual like lives of these creators that we, many of us follow and ultimately feel like we know. And that's a way to convey real trust.
Humanizing it, right? It makes it real, makes it human, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier about like the Kate Moss guest days and Abercrombie and those early, when it was all about like the skinny models, and people finally, I think generationally at least, I think our generation started to get fed up with it and be like, that's not the right body image for us. It makes us feel terrible. We don't want our kids to feel that way. And then so we raised our kids very differently, and now they're behaving very differently because of it. I mean, maybe there's
I think
some
you're
study
spot
around
on.
this.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. I mean, yeah, I think about that as a father of a daughter. Like, that's what kind of world do we want to live in? What sorts of examples do we want to set for them?
Yep. And
Makes sense.
there is something to taking advice from your peers. This is a good opportunity for me to plug something because I think it's highly relevant.
Hmm.
You know, our company is building a platform. We've talked about it a little bit, called Blurbs. And Blurbs is really to help companies like yours get in front of the right buyers in a voice that resonates with them. Something clean and simple, no jargon. It's not too
Hmm.
long. And part of the roadmap is to have this sort of advocate program. And it's where we have a community of buyers and they say, these are the brands I love. And they give like a 30-second, 60-second video review and about why.
Hmm.
And I think that the value there is like, I can see not only do they look like me, if that's even relevant, but I also know from their profile they have a similar tech stack and they're in a similar vertical. It creates relevancy, right? And I think that's what we're getting at here is like when I see somebody like me pitching a product in a sort of less, maybe not highly polished way, it resonates with me in that, hey, I'm like that guy. That guy's like me.
Yeah, what you're also onto with Blurbs is that you're enabling buyers within these companies to meet vendors in a way that feels more authentic. And it's like, okay, here's what I need to understand. I need to understand how Cohley stacks up to XYZ competitor in the influencer space, in the content space. What do I need to know? So it's basically like what you're creating with Blurbs is essentially like, asking you where I should get a cheesesteak in Philly, trying to create like real, like authentic, trustworthy information as opposed to just being marketed to like that old-fashioned Old Spice ad, like just to bring
Yeah.
it full circle. So
Yeah. No,
love what you're doing there.
that cheesesteak episode, that's a whole episode, that question.
Wow,
It
I
just
can
depends.
imagine.
It just depends.
Yeah,
It depends on your mood, time of day, how much you've had to drink. Um,
of course.
so, so let's get back to the platform. Creators, you said you had how many?
Yeah, it's well over 100,000.
100,000 creators. Did they find you? Did you find them? How does someone get on the platform?
Early on, it was very chicken or the egg. We had 100 creators that we were so excited to bring onto the platform on launch day, but we had one brand that wasn't doing anything. So they were like, what? There's no one at this party. I'm gonna bounce. So over time, we've just kind of built it up, and now that we have hundreds of awesome brands that endless numbers of creators want to collaborate with, want to work with, um, the magnetic pull there is just awesome. So there are some network effects that positively impact our business, and the expansion of the creator network and the overall talent that the network consists of has been one of the bigger upsides. Marketplaces pretty tough. Like you're very reliant on humans on both sides, and there's a lot that can go wrong when humans are involved.
Mm-hmm.
But it has been nice to be able to know confidently that we have incredible talent that can follow through and do the job for
Yeah.
these brands. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as we've talked, I'm starting to see the real value in having someone like Cohley in between a creator and a brand. There's a lot of nuances to it, a lot of legal issues, a lot of personality issues. Like it's something you want somebody in the middle that really knows how to manage that process. You've mentioned social media a few times in terms of like where the ads run. Where else do brands use content? Because I mean, I imagine there's some social component. Obviously, that's the easy one.
Yeah.
E-commerce. I was on a website earlier today, and there was a video on the homepage that I couldn't tell if it was an employee or if it was a customer. There's organic, and I'm also wondering, like, to get your take on: is there a future where the TV ads, the ads I see during a ball game, are going to be more UGC content rather than these Hollywood produced commercials?
Oh yeah. I think you already see some ads that at least try to convey the feeling of UGC. Sometimes even they'll just have like the vertical alignment, and then the sides of the screen are just like black. And you're like, wait, what's going on here? It's enough to
My
just catch your
iPhone.
attention. Yeah, it's exactly. So yeah, I mean, I think advertising is continuing to evolve like crazy. And like you said, with in the example you gave around your son, most of the ads and brand interactions that he's encountering are not on TV. They're
Right.
on his phone. Yeah.
Yep. But I wouldn't be surprised if we see them more regular people showing up in my TV ads. It's just going to resonate
100%.
more.
Yeah, you asked about other channels that we'll focus on with clients. So social media is the one that we generally are most like known for, and people ask about, how do I get on TikTok? How do I make my meta ads perform? What we enjoy most from a just like a relationship standpoint with brands now is what I've kept emphasizing, which is like thinking about the entirety of the consumer journey. So we're doing a lot of work with Amazon right now as a content partner of theirs to think about, okay, what types of video do we need for this product page in order to provide the information, social proof, and confidence for that consumer to make a purchase. And Amazon's also really serious about social commerce, social shopping with their Inspire app, which lives within the Amazon app at the bottom there. They see TikTok as a growing competitor, and that's like a King Kong versus Godzilla battle brewing there for sure. People love to shop right on their phones in app. You have captive audiences. It's very easy to just sort of one-click checkout on Amazon, which is obviously an incredibly efficient way to shop. Sometimes dangerous for the actual consumer because it's just so damn easy.
Totally.
But yeah, so same thing on Walmart and Target as well. We're thinking a lot about the content that those pages consist of. Walmart and Target in particular have also put a lot of pressure on their actual vendors to do everything possible to put their best foot forward from a content standpoint on their product pages. They plays into SEO rank. They know it impacts conversion rank. So oftentimes they'll come to us. These brands will come to us and say, hey, Walmart's all over me. Like, I got to improve the content on XYZ SKUs within this category. Like, what can we do?
Interesting.
We'll get to work. Yeah.
Interesting. I have an idea for that. We'll talk about later.
Can't wait.
And just curious there. So social, what's a social shopping or that's when I'm watching like a TikTok video and I see an influencer ad and then I'm like, just click to buy, right? Just right there. Just like I do one click now.
TikTok shops. Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Which is directly integrated into a lot of the content. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was thinking like the one place I actually watch videos, UGC videos, is on Amazon pages when I'm buying something a little bit more complicated than my,
I do too.
Yep. And sometimes they're awesome and sometimes they're terrible. So I think, there's got to be that happy medium where Amazon's making sure that it's quality UGC, and it's probably a upper tier. Like it takes it to a whole other level, but I can definitely see where they could benefit from having a partnership with Cohley to help make sure that all of those UGC videos are of a certain quality.
Let's play that out. What do you view as quality when you're shopping for, say, a complex item on Amazon?
I'll give you an example. I was shopping for a trampoline last summer, and I think for me, it was like, how hard is this thing to build, right? And I'm trying to figure out, do I want springs or not want springs, right? And watching people unbox and build, and the kind of things my kids watch on YouTube, right? Of the things they're interested in, the unboxing. But like, I wanted to see someone like me, a dad, in his backyard building these trampolines, and I wanted good video. I wanted to see everything, and I wanted to know, like, I didn't want it edited because I didn't want all the hard stuff edited out. I wanted to see for real what am I getting myself into here.
That's a perfect example. Yes. I mean, what you're looking for there is information and confidence. You're not looking for aspiration at that point. So when we think about video reviews on Amazon, sure, there could be an aspiration component. Unboxing, the feeling of unboxing is incredible, like dopamine rush for most, crazy Americans. But another thing that we'll really focus on is we'll we actually have a tool that does this. We'll look at the commonalities of all like 1-star reviews and also 5-star reviews. And we'll look at it and say we're looking at 1-star reviews. What are the most common objections or pain points associated with this product? Okay, this is a coffee machine. Some people say it's very difficult to clean. Okay, that's great. We, the maker of the coffee machine, know that it's actually not hard at all, but we haven't done a good enough job of educating people on how to clean it. So let's come up with video reviews that specifically speak to cleaning the product. So if I'm going and reading 1-star reviews, as many consumers do, they want to see what those 1-star reviews are. If I can answer that objection in a video review without having them bounce off the page, what a win. I mean, and that's deservedly so. That's great lift for the brand. They deserve that.
It's a perfect example too, because I often read reviews and I try to take everything with a grain of salt and be like, okay, based on the way this is written, is this person just an idiot, right? or is it really the product's issue? And the reason I brought up blurbs before was because the fact that I can see that you and you look like, look similar in terms of like, we're both men and we're both, dad, you know what I'm saying?
Handsome,
right?
yeah.
And handsome. And I can see that you like or dislike a product, then that means more to me than if you were an 80-year-old grandmother. Right. 100%. And I think that's my biggest problem with like things like Yelp is like restaurant reviews. I use this example all the time. I don't care if it's 3.5 stars or 5 stars because I see restaurants all the time that I love that are getting crappy reviews and vice versa.
Exactly.
So that's why the video is so much more important.
Yeah, exactly. And you also hit on an interesting point there. A lot of people on Yelp only leave a review if they hate it or they absolutely love it. And what we'll do through sampling with the folks in our network, a lot of people will say, well, is that really authentic? It's like, well, actually, you are getting a better take on the actual product because these people aren't just coming here to leave a review because they're angry. Like they've actually been, it's extremely genuine. Yeah. So, and yeah, back to the idea of connecting the video reviews on a product page with the product reviews that live there too. There's way too much of like a kind of a dissonance between the two. There's like no connectivity whatsoever. Like, why are those two not connected? The video reviews should absolutely speak to what people love about the product, things that people don't love about the product, and also one more point about the 1-star reviews. Conversion rates are higher when consumers look at 1-star reviews, which might seem like a little bit head scratching, but oftentimes it's for what you said. It's, oh, the shipping was terrible. Okay, it's a shipping issue. Oh, I have oily skin. This product made me break out. I don't have oily skin. Great. But actually, 1-star reviews can actually help conversion and add confidence. I want to know what's the worst thing people can say about this.
Right. You're making the assumption that shoppers are actually going to read the reviews and not just see the stars. That's where it's harmful.
It depends a lot on the product. Yeah.
And the shopper.
For sure. Exactly. Yeah. But like electronics, for example, beauty, for example, there is a little bit more research that goes into those products as opposed to like, I need some gum.
Yeah.
It's just like there's not like as much thought put into the actual process.
Totally. Yeah. And look, I'm personally speaking, I'll more likely to look at reviews when it's a higher purchase, like more expensive purchase. I'm not going to look at it for, chips or cookies or gum or like toothpaste or whatever. Like,
Yep. And the counter to beauty or skincare there is that like, if it's something I'm going to put on my face, like, is this not, can I just make sure it's not going to like, turn me to stone or something?
Turn your face orange.
Yeah. Like certain someone.
Given that there's so many use cases for UGC, how do your customers measure success? Like, what is there? Because we're so accustomed to like, what's the CPA or what's the ROAS? This seems a little bit different, a lot different, actually.
Yeah. So it depends on the use case. So a lot of times, if we're working with a client on like video reviews for their site or their retailer site, they have the sophistication to be able to run split tests and understand like, okay, is this providing lift? And if so, like, what are the commonalities of the videos that are most successful or driving the best performance? And okay, let's take those learnings and then incorporate them back in. So we're associated with lift there. We're also associated with success on establishing a new social channel. We don't have the content to get on TikTok. We don't even know how to what outfit to show up to this party in. We'll make sure they have the right content and can then help them get on a path to establishing a viable new acquisition channel that consumers are spending a ridiculous amount of time a day on. So, I'd say it tends to be a little bit less immediate as far as like, okay, you worked with Cohley, you spent this, you got this out of it. But it's our job to make sure that we're connecting all of the content that we help brands generate to strategic initiatives throughout the entirety of the funnel. And if the content's just like nice to have, it's just for like their social media feed, they think it's like pretty and cool, I immediately know like, okay, we're not in a good place with this customer. We're not creating the type of value that I know we need to.
Yeah, I mean, they could have really low goals or easy goals, but that also can be a bad thing at the end of the day, right? Because then they're like, how do we measure success after they've done something, and then it's hard to get them to keep doing it. So I think you want to initially set out some goals, like we do in business, right? We have OKRs, like they're not number goals, but they're like, are you doing all the right things from a strategy standpoint?
Yeah, and they have to be real goals. Like they really have to be tied to like C-level type objectives. So if we just fell in love with like, okay, you're coming to Cohley, you want to run a bunch of influencer briefs, or your goal is 3% average engagement across all of those posts. Okay, that might seem like a reasonable KPI, but like, does the CMO care about that? Is it coming up in board meetings? Probably not. Okay, so we need to have more touch points, create more value than just that.
Yeah, I want to get into how somebody gets started, what that looks like, and the expectations. But before we do, I wanted to sort of just bring up what we were talking about before the show, which was influencer marketing isn't new, right? In the sense that it's more formalized for sure, but we all grew up with, your favorite athlete wearing a pair of cleats or shirt or whatever, the branding on those things. We bought things because of what famous people wore. Those are influencers, whether they're verbally saying buy these shoes or they're just wearing them, like they're influencing what we want.
Totally.
I'm sure you have more examples than that, but
yeah, well, think about it in a couple other ways. Like every time the Princess of Wales, Kate, would wear anything during maternity, it would sell out within 2 minutes as soon as it was released as to what the brand was. I mean, Michael Jordan, signature shoes, like the ultimate influencer, multi-billion-dollar enterprise. And I think you could go back and there's probably kings who are influential over their respective towns and whatnot.
I'm sure.
But yeah, not a new concept, just more more clearly defined, perhaps.
Yeah. It's and it's not just famous people right now. It's regular people that we can identify with having influence over the decisions we make. And I think that's probably the biggest difference than, Kate Middleton being an influencer.
Very much so. And I would say, back to the example of like, hey, you grew up outside Philly, I'm in Philly, can I get a recommendation? Like that is, micro influence type of scenario there. I'm looking for peer recommendation, trusted advice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big reason why like mom bloggers are so big. First time moms, they have no idea what they're doing. There's so many different things to manage. I remember when my wife was going through that for the first time. They're looking for support from friends, from creators on YouTube, from anywhere they can get help with making this a little bit more manageable, this circus. So, it's not surprising that mom bloggers are as popular as they are. People might make fun of them. They have a ton of value for women at a major inflection point, critical point of their lives. They're supporting them. That's what they're doing.
My wife used to be a mom blogger. She's a more, I don't want to say a serious writer because that's demeaning to mom bloggers, but she's writing more serious stuff these days.
Sure, yeah.
But she wrote a piece several years ago. So my son's 15 now. So when he went into kindergarten, and every August, September, that piece resurfaces. She starts getting messages, and it goes viral like every year because it was such an amazing piece about sending your kid off to school for the first time as a mom. Wow. All these first-time moms are picking it up for the first time, and
that's special.
It's special, yeah. Okay, I know. We want to get through some stuff here. What is getting started in a program like this? If a brand is new to UGC, they call up Cohley, they say, I want to engage, I want to get some content. How do people usually start that process?
Yeah, so we'll have a conversation with them about what their key initiatives are, what they're potentially struggling with, and again, this is not through the lens of just content. I don't like the content I have right now. My Amazon pages are not converting the way that they need to be. My ads on TikTok are fatiguing, and I cannot create sustained like acquisition at acquisition costs that are acceptable to our business. Those are the kinds of conversations that we'll have, and then we'll find ways to ensure that the content is really solving and improving those key initiatives, those key metrics. So we're kind of backing into it from there. We'll start high and then start talking about the types of assets that are going to really create major impact in those key moments. So
Okay.
we'll do a very thorough onboarding. Our customer success team is our best team. I tell them that all the time. I'm not shy about it. They're just the backbone of the organization. They hold everything together.
They always
ensure
are.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
They have to be.
they're just remarkable. I'm I'm so impressed by them every day. They make sure that this software platform, which is just a bunch of code, actually yields the type of outputs that really matter to brands, and that's pretty cool.
It sounds like it's more like in the early stages of an engagement, it's very consultative. It's much more like an agency engagement. But then I imagine over time it gets a little bit more, easier.
Yeah.
And
They have a hang of the software platform. They know the ins and outs. They've saved their favorite creators within our creator hub. They have maybe a mini ambassador program going. They have a variety of different initiatives moving at any given time. And then it's, maybe we just check in thoroughly every month or so and just see how things are going. Whether they like it or not, we'll usually show up on their doorstep. We make a big emphasis to get together in person, kind of old school like that. So we're typically very involved, but over time, I'd say, it's fair to say that people get in the swing of it and can manage pretty independently.
Okay. One last question. What's the future hold for Cohley? What's the roadmap look like?
I think the roadmap really centers around like continuing to attach content to areas that move the needle. So like the Amazon partnership, fairly new for us. The video reviews on site, all has happened within the last year. So anything that kind of falls into that camp of being able to positively impact key moments, key exchanges between brands and consumers, that's interesting to us. I think what's next, we started doing consumer insights. We brought on this industry guru, who's incredible. We're trying to do more insights that help brands understand like where their place in the market is, what type of messaging might resonate best with what market, on what channel, how do they stack up to their direct competitors, and how can we use language in the content to help them win. And then, of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention AI. There's so much that we can do from an AI standpoint in terms of distilling massive amounts of information into clear guidance for the actual brand. We can marry their brand presence with consumer insights, with performance of assets and ads, and start to come up with ideas proactively for them. And ideally, through that machine learning, that AI, we can help take more and more of the guesswork and gut feel out of the content process, out of the decision of which assets to use where. It's very overwhelming. It's still a ton of gut feel, personal opinion baked into that. We want this to function like a quant hedge fund. We want it to be able to say, sure, here are directional guidelines, but let this thing spin and let it iterate and let it win.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap it there. That's a great way to end it. Thank you, Tom, for being in the Matrix, and anyone listening that's interested in learning more, we'll have information in the show notes. Take care. It's good to have you.
Thanks, Sean. It's fun to be in the Matrix with you.
All right, man. Ciao.
This episode of the MarTech Matrix was brought to you by the Cogent Collective, a community of marketing and e-commerce leaders. Learn more at cogentcollective.com. For show notes and information on upcoming episodes, head on over to the martechmatrix.com. If you would like to learn more about the companies appearing on this podcast and see if they're a good fit for your company, send Sean a note at sean@cogentcollective.com. New episodes of the MarTech Matrix podcast will drop every Monday, so be sure to subscribe with your favorite podcast network so you can stay on top of what's happening in the Matrix.